Hello guys, this is Jibril on Authentic Plus TV. If today happens to be your first time, kindly subscribe to the channel to help me push this channel far. And as usual, we'll continue to learn. So let's do this. Ghana's parliament is actually vetting the nominees from the President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And one of the topical issues in town now is about the performance of the former minority leader Haruna Iddrissu. And guys, I mean, it's a sterling performance. He dazzled. I mean, it was just too much. His knowledge, his pedigree, his competences, I mean, proves so much, so well of him, to the extent that, you know, those that were supposed to ask him questions were rather actually, you know, giving comments instead of asking him questions. You know, issues to do with feeding in relation to the fact that whether, you know, during their campaign trail, they mentioned that they would let the purchases of the food items be handled by the headmasters of the schools because the free SHS, you know, policy had issues to do with this management of food from the Ghana Commodity Exchange, and then the buffer stock. You know, they had a lot of issues to deal with as far as supply of food to the schools were concerned. So, you know, the current minority leader, Afenyo can question him about what they are going to do, because they mentioned that they were going to ensure that they will give the purchases of the food items to the school themselves to do, the headmasters to do. But his answer was very brilliant. Let's watch.
Chair, if the nominee will be pleased, I would want to draw his attention to His Excellency the President. On his campaign trail, I believe he identified some challenges in the school feeding program. And at one point, he did indicate that instead of government having to procure for the schools, he will rather come up with a policy to let the head teachers themselves procure the items, the food items, directly. In other words, he will transfer the funds to the schools so that the schools themselves would procure the food items for the students. May I know from you, Honorable Nominee, if indeed, beyond the campaign rhetoric, this is also part of the policies that you are going to introduce as a way of ensuring, in your own way, efficiency in the free SHS system in terms of the aspect that deals with school feeding.
First of all, to note that in our manifesto, the words that were used was to implement no academic fee policy for first-year students in all public tertiary institutions, including universities, colleges of education, and nursing training colleges, for the record, leader. So this is our pledge.
I know why I was pushing you. I'm happy, you know.
I appreciate it.
I know why I was pushing you, because your manifesto is here. So I wanted to be sure. And so I'm happy you've gone back to clarify, to give assurance.
Thank you.
Yes, I must. If opposition leader cannot have access to your manifesto, then what is my use? I must have it.
Thank you, leader. And chair, school feeding.
I mean, school feeding in this context is referring to the senior high school, not the basic school feeding.
Yes, school feeding for senior high school was largely done in a centralized form by the previous government, taking advantage of two institutions, the Buffer Stock Company and the Ghana Commodity Exchange. And it allowed for central purchase in some quantities of these food items. Headmasters already played some role when it came to perishable items, uniforms, and others. We have to phase out implementation because we cannot afford any food shortages as the schools run. 3rd January, we have to provide for stability of their calendar and make sure that there is adequate food and the quality of the food. But certainly the GES and headmasters will have a role. It's more, Chair, a cash flow problem, and how early the Ministry of Finance releases those funds. If we are not careful, there will come a time that you would have done purchases and major suppliers will say that they won't do it because they've not been guaranteed or assured. So we have to deal with the cash flow problem, which is a matter which can be resolved between the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Education. But for us is to assure that we stop any potential disruption of the school calendar arising out of the lack of or delay in getting these food items to the school. We will work with those institutions, but define a role for the headmasters in a phase-out process. Thank you.
Again, on issues to do with, what was the feel when he was replaced as the minority leader, and his answer was once again so very superb. Unperturbed, he feels that it was his time to serve within his capacity for that 6-7 year period. It was ordained, or it was, his responsibility, or was a mandate given to him by the political party that he belonged to actually work within that. So he felt that when he was relieved of that post, it was a burden that was, according to him, God indicated that it's time for him to have that burden removed from his shoulders so that he'll be able to concentrate on other things. And that he also take pride as a minority leader, being able to ensure that a political party who has a majority, a ruling government, they were able to push a minority person in the person of Abambabin to win the seat. Became the speaker for the first time, an opposition member becoming a speaker of parliament in Ghana's political dispensation. And he thinks it's a really a good work that he thinks he will be remembered for that, and he takes particular pride in that. Let's watch.
We go through low moments in our politics, days of adversity. You were a student leader, rose to become a cabinet minister. When your party was in opposition, you were privileged to have been selected as a primus of your interpares, and you became the primus of your side for some 6 years. Share with us, how did you find your transition?
Transition from where to where?
That is when you had to give space for a younger person, to take over from you.
I took it very easy. When I was told that there would be a reshuffle of the minority, I believe I got a call whilst I was entering Joy FM for a major interview from President Mahama, and he indicated to me that, Harun, I'll call you shortly to discuss a very important matter. If you remember, I think it was PM Express. And for me, if you look at President Akufo-Addo's State of the Nation's address, the last one, I should be the most encouraged. At least he admitted that he suffered an effective opposition in the hands of Haruna Iddrissu and the likes of our MPs, even if he didn't say so tacitly. He said the nature and character of the parliament, the speakership, and his inability to get things through. I believe that in the last 7 years, I served my country well as minority leader, contributing to, how I got it under your sleeves, getting back being elected as speaker. And for many in the NDC, those of you who were at Marriott Hotel, the Honorable Yusuf and Soyene, and nobody is here, I told them that a tortoise will ride an elephant at dawn. You remember that? Didn't the tortoise ride an elephant? We worked towards it and we achieved it. And you know, I had Honorable Muntaka. We had a certain gelling chemistry of a relationship. So as minority leader, getting Bagbin elected was significant for me to change the course of parliamentary accountability in our country. Research have demonstrated that the 8th Parliament will be remembered for its effectiveness in demanding accountability. There are many policy issues that I'll walk to you and Che Mensa, and I'm sure I can use the word today. There was a day they said, more tonne, he's been bought. So I walked to you and said, then Che, na mi yakubi na otomi. I told the Honorable Che Mensa that no, some decisions I'm guided by the good of our country and the future of our country. And that I take those decisions taking responsibility. Indeed, I told the Honorable Suhine that when President Mahama begin constituting government, I'll be appreciated as former minority leader. Even the engineering you are doing here, people will appreciate a Haruna Iddrissu. There were some decisions that you are guided collectively by the party, and then we take a decision. But as I said, I have never ever regretted being changed as minority leader. I don't carry guilt in my heart. I've had my opportunity. I went out there to campaign and work for the NDC because I was convinced that in terms of the management of the economy, I wasn't satisfied with how the MPP had managed the country and its governance. So I don't carry guilt in my heart. I had a rare opportunity to serve, probably the first in my part of the world, if not the first in my country. And those who know me, there is a Quranic verse that I share with my mother, Aman Rasul. God does not give you a burden you cannot carry. So I'm sure at that time, God wanted a certain burden off my head. Which burden was that don't be minority leader, be MP for Tamale South. I keep telling my colleagues that my greatest asset is the preservation of Tamale South. And therefore, I thank the chiefs behind me and the people of Tamale South for giving me religious trust to keep the seat. So you can think minority leader was just an opportunity to serve. Those 7 years, my footprints are there and they remain there.
Yeah, now let's also look at, almost all these MPs, including the minority leader himself, Afanyo Maken, also taking inspiration and that, showing him full respect throughout, and then his questions, that he was actually putting to the Honorable Haruna Iddrissu. He was very careful because he knows the person he was dealing with, and he got the exact answers very, tactfully, very carefully. He got the answers. I mean, the performance was so superb, and it's something that was expected because everybody knows that Haruna Iddrissu is an intelligent, chap from his school days, from Legon, being a student leader up to going into Parliament, becoming a Minister of State throughout, and then becoming the minority leader. So it was expected that he's actually going to perform to that, level. So it wasn't anything that was so surprising to them because they know the kind of person that they were dealing with. This is the Authentic Plus TV. Kindly subscribe to the channel. Thank you.